to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Search Talk Live. I'm your host, Robert O'Haver. With me today is my co-host, Caleb McKelvin. Caleb, how's it going?
Hey, happy Tuesday, Rob. We got another great episode of Search Talk Live. Feels so good to be back in the studio. We have kicked off 2016 with some pretty awesome shows, and we got another good one today.
Yes, we do. And those of you that are site owners and even agencies or
any type of digital marketer,
any kind of digital marketer can take away some great stuff from our guest we have today.
Absolutely.
On the show with us today is the CEO and founder of Wider Funnel, Chris Goward. Chris, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Thank you guys for the invitation. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your knowledge with us and our audience.
And those of you who don't know a lot about Chris, does a lot of traveling, does a lot of speaking, and is an expert when it comes to conversion optimization.
Yes.
And Chris, if you could give our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I started Wider Funnel in 2007. That was after a long history of optimizing websites. Started building websites and e-commerce sites in 1994, back when the web was pretty much text and a few tables back then, and really found through sort of a history of, I started in biochemistry before that and taught myself web design and, had a science background, but really wanted to understand persuasion. So I got into marketing and ad agencies but saw that there was something really lacking in typical agencies where they weren't doing what was right for clients. And so I thought there had to be a way to do something a little bit more measurable and prove what actually works. And so we started Wider Funnel with the principle of scientific marketing and testing to find out what actually works, especially on the web, which back then, if you remember when we started in 2007, there was a lot of flash websites, and it was just a terrible experience online. Yeah. And so we wanted to start with a different way of thinking about an agency to prove great ideas that have value.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
And was there any takeaway or anything you took away from your previous, profession that you brought into that field with you?
Well, yeah. When I in biochemistry, I learned about, first of all, the curiosity, the principles of learning, and about exploring and research, but then also about how important precision is and having a structured process. Because in science, if you test the wrong way or if you're imprecise in your questions and how you set up an experiment, you can come out with wildly different answers that can be misleading. And I find that really is what has set Wider Funnel up for success, because so much of that is still happening in marketing. People think they're learning something from a test, and really they're learning nothing, or they're worse, they're learning the wrong things because they're setting their experiments up wrong, or they're asking the wrong questions, or they're not asking any questions.
Right.
and just being driven by gut feeling.
Mm-hmm. So is Wider Funnel strictly focused on CRO?
Yeah, that's all we do is conversion optimization for high traffic websites.
Nice. And what would before someone would come to you as a client, what kind of traffic do they need to have?
Well, so we focus on high traffic companies that are generally over a 250,000 monthly visitors, and so that we can run a lot of tests. Yeah. We also learn a lot of principles that can apply to every website that might be going through a redesign process or through, want to just make improvements on their website. So we publish a lot on our blog that is based on the learning that we learn from these high traffic experiments. Right. And we released a book a couple of years ago that basically explains all of the frameworks that we've developed from working with all of those great brands and high traffic companies, because we've been refining that process. And then, the smaller companies can use the same principles and apply them as well.
Right. Okay. Now, for our listeners, those that don't understand, could you walk through what exactly conversion rate optimization is?
Yeah, and it's an interesting question, because conversion rate optimization, I find the term to be so confusing and kind of annoying, honestly, because conversion rate is really just a metric, and it's a metric for measuring the success of something. But it's not, that term doesn't really focus on the goal. The goal should be about testing whatever your important business metric is to find out what actually moves people to act, to understand about your customers. And most people don't really realize how many assumptions they have in their own mental picture of their customer.
Right.
And so conversion rate optimization really should be about marketing optimization and marketing insights based on testing. So conversion rate optimization essentially is a process of asking questions about your customer that you want to then A/B test to find the answer to. It's all about a champion-challenger approach of having an original assumption, validating that by A/B testing it, getting some insights, and then making further questions and hypotheses based on those insights, and continuing a constant stream of A/B tests to understand a better picture of the audience.
Yeah. Now, Chris, when you're first speaking with clients, over the years, would you say that's one of the biggest kind of mistakes or misconceptions that they have is not really understanding what their users want, or thinking they really do know and not really understanding why they're not acting like they should be or creating that conversion on their site?
Yeah, and every marketer has a picture of their audience that they believe is accurate.
Yeah.
And yet they're seeing from their own perspective through their own lens. And every person, every group of people has a different, you can think of it as a colored lens that they're wearing. And the information that they're presented gets filtered before it hits their brain. And so those perceptual filters based on their demographics and psychographics and experience with the brand, and experience with competitive brands, and experience in the whole space, all of those things filter the words that they're hearing and seeing, and then they interpret them differently. And so every marketer who thinks they're understanding their customer really is only understanding their own perception of the words they're using.
Right.
And so and they make assumptions and gut feeling based on those things. And yet often we go in there and we'll test these so-called best practices and beliefs they have about their customer, and come out with really surprising insights about what actually works that invalidates a lot of these assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you start? I mean, like, let's say, you get a client and, what's step one? What is it? I mean, you evaluate.
Yeah, well, and so we've what we focused on is building the process that is an ongoing optimization process. It's really a strategy for a company.
Right.
And so what we do, we start by actually evaluating what are the skills and knowledge and team that they have in place, and then we'll build a structure around it. Gotcha. Build a process that will continuously improve. We're constantly iterating and optimizing the process itself. The latest version of it we call the Infinity Optimization Process. Essentially, it's a framework that shows how to get the best results by separating an exploration versus a validation mindset. And there's some technicality in there, but really it's about getting that process right. Mm-hmm. And then the process itself, if it's reliable, will continually spit out a constant stream of insights.
Gotcha. Now, how long do you normally run a test for?
Each test will usually, we plan them to run and complete within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the traffic volumes.
Right.
But usually we don't want to have more variations than we'll run within that time frame.
Gotcha. So would you do like an A/B test where you run the original versus your changes, or?
Yeah, so we'll run the original page. It might be a page, or it might be, we call it a lift zone, right, basically, which it could be a site-wide element, it could be the navigation bar, it could be a landing page, or an image on the home page, whatever it is.
Right.
And we'll create several variations to test against that. And the way the test is constructed, we call that the design of experiment, will be planned in order to generate insights about the customer as well as conversion rate lift.
Gotcha. Okay. And at what point do you you test, and you're not seeing much of results. I mean, is there a point where you say, okay, it's time you need to redesign your site? Or does that even happen?
Well, you know what? Yeah, it's a good question. So a lot of people think of a website redesign as sort of the alternative to optimization, or as, the sometimes the starting point, start with a better benchmark.
Yeah.
But in most cases, we're finding that a dramatic website redesign is rarely the best solution. Sometimes it's a technology re-platform is needed to get new features, right? To go onto a new e-commerce platform or whatever it is. But it actually works better if you can separate the backbone, the back end from the front end,
right?
And only redesign using the new process of redesign, which is we call evolutionary site redesign, constantly testing the new design. And that's what leading companies are doing now. When you think about a company like Amazon, when was the last time they redesigned their website?
Yeah.
They've never redesigned.
I would say the same thing always.
Yeah, they're constantly, every day, they're testing hundreds and hundreds of new iterations. And the leading companies are. Booking.com in the U.S. is the largest travel agency. And they have, I was just there in Amsterdam in their head office a couple months ago, and they've got a whole floor that's only conversion optimization. There's 300 plus.
Wow.
And all they're doing is testing thousands of things every day to constantly change, test new features, test new design elements, test new pages or persuasional messages. And they're just killing it in the marketplace because of that.
Yeah. Wow. That's a huge, to devote that much.
Yeah.
But I guess they're doing the right thing.
Right. Well, even a major company like that, I mean, they're the largest booking company, travel kind of company in the world. I mean, you got to think if they're doing it and they see the need for conversion optimization and kind of focusing on that and testing so many things that, if you're a small company, there's definitely a need for it there. If they're doing it, then, you need to be doing it. You need to be constantly testing. When you see companies that aren't doing any type of testing, websites that aren't doing any type of testing, and they say, well, our conversions are good, everything's good, we seem to be doing traffic. I mean, what do you tell those guys? What do you tell those site owners and those businesses?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of companies that are, I'm sure they're doing fine and they're doing well. But how much better could they be doing?
Yeah.
And what's right around the corner that their competitors are testing and they don't have any idea? I know that for a fact that if any company is not optimizing and actually getting significant feedback from the market, then they're missing out on all of this free information that's available. The most valuable thing that a company has is the traffic that's coming to their website that can give them insights that they can then leverage to get even better results in the market.
Yeah.
How do they know that they've got the best offers in the market? How do they know that they're emphasizing the right value proposition messaging?
Right.
How do they know that their target audience isn't just getting frustrated by some user experience element that they haven't even seen yet?
Yeah.
If they're not testing it.
Now,
Right.
as a site owner, what would be the telltale signs? Let's say, where should they be at when they come to see you? Like, I mean, is this a site that's closing at 5%, or should they be closing at, 30%? It's at what point they come to see you is what I'm saying.
Well, you know what? So we generally get companies coming to us in various stages. Generally, they're coming to us either one because they haven't been testing and they know they need to do it right at the beginning, right? And that's that is a smart approach if they have an organization that they need to build organizational support and momentum. Because a lot of times companies will, an optimization champion will sort of rise up in a company and convince people that they need to be doing this. But then if they don't get started the right way, they'll lose that momentum and that support, and then it's really hard to build it again the second time. So they want to come, they'll say, we should bring in wider funnel, get the right process, and then make sure that if it's done right, it'll get that momentum started properly, and then it'll turn into an ongoing strategy. So that's one reason. Or they might just already be testing, running out of ideas, or they aren't seeing the ROI they want, and the expertise and process is really what they need.
Yeah.
Or they just want to, maybe they've got a team already and they're doing a lot of testing, but they want a constant influx of new ideas. Because we're exposed to so many other industries and websites, then even if, we work with a lot of companies who they've got their internal testing team, but they use us to bring in that constant stream of things that have been tested in other websites, other industries, competitors, that they can then try throughout all of the other areas of their marketing.
Gotcha. And those of you just tuning in, you're listening to Search Talk Live. The number here, if you want to call in with a question for Chris or myself, or Caleb, the number is 855-722-0006, option 1. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com. Check them out. Big shout out to them for sponsoring the show.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, and those of you listening in, we're talking to Chris Goward of Wider Funnel, and we're talking about conversion optimization.
Yes.
All right, Chris, let's see. Now, is there a point where, I know you only deal with the larger companies, but for the average listener out there, they probably got to, they're not getting 100,000 people visits. But how long should you typically do a test for? Say, you got 20,000 people coming to your site.
Yeah, if you've got the 20,000 level of traffic, you can run A/B tests and you can get important insights from your testing.
Right.
There's no website that has too little traffic to be testing. There's no downside to having a test in market.
Sure.
Worst case scenario, you're going to get some insights, and it might take a few weeks to get the results, but that's still valuable.
Yeah.
So I would say that for a company that's got lower traffic, they just need to be more disciplined about the variations that they're going to be running.
Yeah.
And make sure that they're asking powerful questions. It's even more important for them to spend the time creating important hypotheses and structuring them properly so that they know from every test they're going to get an insight and it's going to be important to their business. Gotcha. And so, that's the book that I wrote a couple of years ago called You Should Test That, it really does reveal everything that we knew up until then about how to run these experiments and how to use the frameworks. And so a lot of smaller companies are just using that. It's a $20 strategy,
Yeah.
Learn everything we know and do it on their own with whatever resources and time they have available.
Right. Would it be safe to say that you should really always be testing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Every company should always be testing. Otherwise this golden traffic is just sliding right past them, not providing any insights.
Yeah, if they see an upswing, we've increased conversion rate 10%. Keep going for the reaching for the sky, right?
Yeah, keep going.
Well, you've always got questions to ask that are important about the business. There's always more you can learn about the audience.
Yeah.
And so by asking the questions using A/B testing, you're actually measuring it based on business impact and not just what focus groups, what people might say. But when people give you feedback or tell you what they think, they don't know themselves how they're actually going to act.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting them into an experiment when they don't know they're an experiment is when the only way to get the actual truth out of them.
Okay. Here's a question from a listener. What is the most important piece of data for you to track on a landing page or website, and why?
Oh man, there's so much that we track on a page. There's two categories of information that we're going to look for. One is information that's going to allow us to create better hypotheses. So we call that the explore phase, where we're gathering. We might be gathering surveys, voice of customer surveys, net promoter score surveys. We're also going to be looking at click heat map analysis, scroll maps, the web analytics, of course, and looking at where people are clicking, which pages did they come from, what search terms did they come from, if that's available, what campaigns did they come from, and where are they going after the page, all of that stuff. And that helps create a picture of that visitor and what problems they might be facing in understanding the value proposition or the user experience elements. And then the other side of the data is within the validation phase, and validate when we're testing. Then it's critical that we're gathering conversion metrics that are important to generate revenue in the business.
Right.
And people a lot of times make mistakes when they run tests, and they think maybe because they have lower traffic that they should optimize for what we call micro conversions, right? Which is indicators that might point that someone's interested, but they're not actual revenue producing conversions. And that's dangerous because you can actually create variations that win, that get more people to the next step, but that actually hurt revenue because they're less qualified. They can actually sometimes be inversely correlated. The wrong people getting to the next step.
Wow.
I never thought of it that way. Very cool.
Yeah. So what if a site is maybe on an organic scale, maybe bringing the wrong traffic, or even with the paid? That's something you can pick out pretty quickly, pretty fast, right?
Yeah, if people are bringing the wrong traffic, and there's no good news is with organic, if there's very little cost to bringing the wrong visitors to the website. So, no big deal. But if you can optimize and generate more revenue out of that traffic, and that's reminds me of a question. A lot of times people are asking, how do I reduce my bounce rate on my website?
Right.
And I ask, my response is, why do you want to reduce your bounce rate? What's bad about that? I mean, I can reduce your bounce rate immediately by turning off bad traffic.
Right.
But if you're getting any conversions from that, that's a bad decision.
Yeah.
So you don't want to reduce your bounce rate. The only thing that's important is lifting the revenue from whatever traffic you're getting. Take the bad traffic, take the good traffic, and just continuously improve it, and then you're pointing in the right direction.
Gotcha. That was some good advice. I haven't heard that before.
You're right.
I mean,
right.
it's obvious, but it's well said.
Yeah, well, most people think if you're getting wrong traffic, then you got to change something up. But, I mean, you're getting traffic.
You could be shooting
and
yourself
you could be shooting yourselves in the foot if you turn that off or you try to go a different way and miss out on those conversions. Now, I think one of the, we've talked about customer feedback, and I've heard one of the listeners and somebody tweet at us about this. Can you ask directly to the customer why it is they didn't have convert? Because I know you can look at all the analytics, you can look at all the data, but can you get any direct feedback, or should you get any direct feedback from them on maybe why they didn't go, why they didn't convert, and kind of go throughout the whole process on your website that you wanted them to?
For sure, yeah. And so we want to get all kinds of information from them, whether it's their direct feedback on what went well or what didn't go well, why they did convert or didn't, and looking at the involuntary, you can call it, analytics information, right? And so the surveys that are on the site can be helpful if people aren't finding what they're looking for. The little help surveys, or the exit pop-ups that are so popular right now, which can sometimes be annoying. But if there's a way of asking them questions there, that can be useful. Or another really interesting question is for people who do convert. On the thank you page, you could ask them, why did you almost not decide to do whatever action it is? Huh. And they may reveal why. They may have just tipped over the line and say, well, let's go ahead with this, but they might reveal at that point, when it's fresh in their mind, well, I was kind of concerned about this, or I had a real problem with the form here, or something else that might give you an insight. So at every point, there's no downside to getting feedback from your audience.
Right.
And you do that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to know how he does that.
Right. Well, I mean, that's got to be powerful feedback. Even when somebody does convert, they might have really needed whatever you're giving them and just kind of muscled through it and kind of put their head down and went through the wall anyway. But, they can still give you that feedback on certain things that if they weren't that customer who really needed something or really needed what you're offering, they're going to shy away and go somewhere else. So that's powerful feedback too.
Yeah. So, I mean, you implement like surveys and stuff as well?
Yeah, we're implementing surveys and all of the technology that is needed to gather all that information.
Right.
So we'll do, we start, you asked how do we start? First of all, by looking at what they're gathering right now.
Yeah.
And then whatever gaps are there, we'll pull in tools and processes and resources to gather the right information.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
Let's see. Here's a good one. A/B testing tools. Do they pose any risk to SEO?
That question has been asked for years, and we've been Google authorized consultants since 2008, and we keep asking Google that question, and and they keep telling us that that they totally support A/B testing, and that if it's especially if it's using a proper testing tool, and they'll look for indicators of whether someone's doing it improperly, and you can sometimes get penalized. Mm-hmm. The biggest risk is if they think you're masking pages and showing different information than is being shown to the bots. Yeah. But if it's not done over a long period of time, then they'll realize that it's a test, and they're not going to, they totally support that, because the end result is improving the experience for visitors. If they find what they want and they convert and they buy, that's a happy customer. That's what Google wants in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you do, when you're doing your, do y'all ever change content as far as like text and stuff like that, or is just like, moving things around? Or I guess it's a two-part question is like, if a site is ranking really high in the search engines on that page and you make some either or subtle or whatever, and those ranks change, I mean, how do you keep those both, mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's theoretically a risk. Yeah. But in reality, the principles of SEO and conversion optimization are totally aligned.
Yeah.
SEO works better when the keywords match the content.
Yeah.
And that's the case for conversion optimization as well.
Yeah.
So the higher, that's really speaking to the relevance factor.
Yeah.
That the more relevant the page is to the visitor's search query and their needs, the more likely they are to convert.
Yeah.
And reducing content can sometimes help conversions as well, but often it's just placing the content in the right context and in the right order and doing it properly.
Yeah.
Now we're often testing content ideas for sure. We test a lot of headlines. We test a lot of copywriting, different approaches to find out what converts more. But we've never seen a downside in SEO.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because no, I was curious about that because I could imagine that's kind of a gray line there. You don't want to cross. I don't know.
Yeah,
screw up somebody's rankings,
right.
But I mean, it's all about user experience, and that's what you're creating. So I would imagine that does help.
Absolutely. Now, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Search Talk Live with Caleb McKelvin and Robert O'Haver. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com, check out all they have to offer, a lot of cool stuff. Appreciate them powering the show. If you want to call in with a question for our special guest today, Mr. Chris Goward, from Wider Funnel, CEO and founder. You can call in at 855-722-0006. That is 855-722-0006. You'll be sent over to our man Dave once you hit option 1, and we'll get your question on air. So make sure you do that, or you can hit us up on @Search Talk Live and send us your question there. Now, Chris, when we talked about the whole process and everything like that, I feel like whenever you're creating anything, especially in digital marketing, whether it's content marketing, whether it's conversion rate optimization, anything in the industry, it seems like you always want to center your process and your strategy around, you got to answer certain questions, and you can kind of move from there. With conversion rate optimization, well, before you begin the process, or how do you center your process around certain questions that need to be answered?
Right, yeah, and that's a secret to how we've built our process for conversion optimization, is looking at what are the questions that people are constantly asking in trying to build the best system, the best process for continuous optimization. And then when we come up with a question or come across a question, then what we want to do is, rather than just answering the question in this case, we want to build a framework to answer that question that's robust and works across all kinds of situations. Yeah. So, for example, people will always be asking the question, where should I be testing? What part of my website should I be testing first? And we always get that question. Should I test at the top end of the funnel or the bottom end of the funnel? Should it be on the cart first, or the landing page forms, or the lead generation forms, or should it be at the home page and the landing pages first? And to answer that question, we could easily just come out with an answer. A lot of people out there are saying, yeah, you should always start at the bottom of the funnel because that's where you're getting the most of the visitors that are most likely to convert. But no, that's not the right answer. The right answer is it depends on your situation. Now let's look at a framework that will help you to identify what your situation parameters are.
Yeah.
So we've got a framework that people can just go and find online. It's called the PI framework for prioritizing experiments, and so that every potential area for optimization can be looked at and ranked based on its potential, its importance, and its ease of running experiments. And if you rank them all based on potential, importance, and ease, pi, then you come out with a number that then ranks all of your test opportunities and focuses your energy then on the highest ranking opportunities for improvement. And then so now that's a framework that applies to any website or any situation, any mobile app, any marketing experience, whatever it is. You can use that framework, and in fact, we end up using it in all kinds of situations, offline and in all kinds of areas, because it's a really simple and robust framework that answers that question.
And this question kind of goes along with that. Should you do multiple tests in multiple sections of the site, or should you stick to one test at a time? Or
well, you want to be careful about doing that, because if you run multiple tests with the same traffic, you're going to have traffic pollution, test pollution. So the only way to do that is if you have some technology in place that will make sure that the traffic is split before they're entered into the test.
Gotcha.
So that the same visitors are not ever into tests.
Yeah, they're not cross-pollinating there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So for the listeners, is there any tools that maybe you could recommend for if they wanted to do some, testing and conversion optimization?
Yeah, well, it depends on what kind of tools they need, what their gaps are. So there are the Explore tools, which are really about gathering feedback, and there's all kinds of different survey tools, and they're coming in and out of the market every month. Hard to keep track of them all, but right now, Hotjar is a good one for gathering a lot of different types of information from your website. The surveys as well as some analytics information. Mm-hmm. Crazy Egg is really good for getting click heat map analysis, of course, and scroll maps. ClickTail does that as well, but it also does recordings of individual users that you can get information from.
Yeah.
Of course, there's all kinds of user testing surveys or user testing facilitation tools as well. But then for actual testing, there's generally really two major leaders in the market right now, and that's Optimizely and Visual Website Optimizer. And they're the easiest ones to use and to get going with. Of course, there's also Adobe Target that some companies are using, but generally because they have to use Adobe. but those are the majority of them. And then we're actually building some tools as well to help with people that are doing a lot of testing and helping them to plan their tests. So we've got a tool coming out in a few weeks called Lift Map, a lift analyzer, which basically just helps people to input a URL, pull in a page, and do an analysis of the page and share it with their team to create hypotheses.
Nice. Is that you heard it here first?
Yeah, it's not released yet. So
very cool.
Sweet.
It'll be coming out very soon. We're just doing some we're using it with our team internally, and we're going to release one of the features in April.
Cool. Do you have any costs on that, or?
It'll be free to use at first, and probably until we start adding some more features, and then work from there. But there'll always be a free version.
Oh, nice. And we can find that on your site?
You can go to liftmap.com, and right now it's still in development. I think there's a page there that you can possibly sign up for beta. At least there was. But we'll send you a link that you can publicize in the next couple of weeks when we start pushing it out.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll definitely tweet it out and share it.
Yeah.
So what about Google Analytics? They have the experiments tool, right? Can you use that?
Right, yeah. Well, Google Analytics is also great in the explore phase for understanding how visitors are acting on the page.
Right.
Content experiments is still a bit of a work in progress. We don't recommend it.
Okay.
But I know that Google is developing a new A/B testing tool as well, which they keep changing the release date on it, but I think it should be coming out. I think it's still a work in progress as well.
Yeah.
But the content experiments was really not set up in the best way in terms of their analytical models.
Yeah.
But you know, it is a free tool, so it's better than nothing.
Right. Well, cool. I'll definitely try yours out as soon as it comes out. But let's see. You got any more questions, Caleb?
Looking to see if we got any user questions.
Yep. Bear with us, guys. You're listening to SearchTalkLive.com. I mean, Search Talk Live. Sorry, I'm trying to read
Yes.
in and talk at the same time.
You can visit SearchTalkLive.com.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other tools you got there?
You know, it's the tool that the lift map tool is really a lift analysis. We're going to be pushing out some features as well. Mm-hmm. For example, the PI, we talked about PI prioritization framework.
Mm-hmm.
That'll come out as a feature. And then hopefully some other tools that help the developers to build better experiments on the code side. Because our developers really, you know, when we use an A/B testing tool, we don't actually use the WYSIWYG editor anymore.
Right.
They've got APIs now so that our developers can just code straight into it and push the code in. And there are some helper apps that I think would be useful for that are really quite specialized for A/B testing developers. But we'll evaluate in the market and see if people find it useful.
Nice. Okay. Here's a question. What are the key design elements in a landing page that contribute to increased conversion rates?
Well, you know, the design elements that matter most, whether it's on a landing page or any type of page on a website, are the elements that are the most prominent for communicating the value proposition. And so I haven't really talked about the framework for creating hypotheses yet today, but the core of your potential for conversion rate is your value proposition. Mm-hmm. So the elements that communicate that generally on a landing page are going to be things like the headline, right? The first thing you read, or an image that's the first thing you see,
right,
or the intro paragraph. It's the first encapsulation of your value proposition message. But depending on how the page is designed, different things will be more or less prominent. But anything that's on the page must either be contributing to the value proposition communication, mm-hmm, or it's causing distraction and should be removed. So in thinking about the elements of the page with that mentality, you can start to look at the elements differently. You may not need all of the elements that are on the page, mm-hmm, or you may need something different on the page that helps to support that. So for example, a lot of people say, you know, have a smiling person, a picture of a smiling person to create a welcoming whatever message, and it'll increase conversion rates. But that's not the case. It's actually not true. If you test that, in a lot of cases, having a smiling person on the page, if it doesn't contribute to your message, it's a distraction, and it will reduce your conversion rates. We've tested that so many times, it just depends on whether it makes sense to communicate your message.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Something that simple. Could throw it off. But what is the... I have a question here from... she's a blogger. I don't know if you can answer this. I'm sure you can, but she writes for sales or e-commerce site, and she wants to know, is there a trick to writing marketing copy or, you know, sales, getting people to convert more, writing content than, you know, just a regular blog telling a story? Because she wants to, what she's basically trying to do here is she's writing a blog post, but she wants to
create a conversion,
turn that into a funnel to the site, and, you know, lead them somewhere into the funnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that sometimes can be you need to have skill to be able to make that transition. Yeah. If someone's there for the purpose, you know, the difference between a landing page and a blog post generally, mm-hmm, or you know, sort of on a spectrum. A blog post can be considered more like social content, social media content.
Right.
When people are in a social media mindset or a blog mindset, usually they're in an entertainment mindset. Mm-hmm. So they're looking for something that's a distraction, or it's entertaining, or it's interesting, right? So it's whereas when they're in a search mindset, they're actually looking for solutions. So they're actively in a pattern matching mindset that's looking for a match to the picture they have in their mind.
Right.
Those are completely different people or they're possibly the same people in a different state. And you have to speak to them differently. So if you're in a blogging mindset, you're speaking towards someone who's looking for entertainment. You have to create that transition that's natural, that then makes it a personal message of why this solution now fits the story. So it either has to be that subtle, or you can also just have a sales message distraction. So then it's just something like a banner that's compelling, or something that's an interrupt, which can work. Mm-hmm. But then it's just a random chance that you're hitting the person who also has this sort of latent need.
Yeah. Well, what about that ad you saw, the Netflix ad? Or was it?
Oh, that was native advertising. Yeah. So yeah, native advertising is definitely growing. I'm seeing it all over the place now, but I don't necessarily see it as to where they are doing it more of a sales funnel. It's kind of weird. It's more entertainment purposes, it seems like.
But it leads you into
it kind of leads you into that mindset. I don't know if it's just kind of like a brand recognition. And Chris, I don't know if I'm sure you have some experience or some knowledge on the native advertising, but it seems like a lot of big brands are doing that, but it only seems for entertainment purposes. I don't know if you've seen anything different.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases, with big brand budgets, they are looking for large scale brand impression as a goal.
Yeah.
And for the small business, often they don't have that luxury. They've got to get conversions. They've got to get people moving.
Right.
And so you got to focus on messages that are conversion focused, right?
Right. Yeah, native advertising it's very for entertainment purposes only, kind of brand recognition. It's pretty cool though. I mean, mm-hmm. You're not sales pitchy, and you kind of fit the form of whatever site you're on. So I mean, for big brands it makes sense, but for smaller companies and sites, it's all about conversions and making sure you're spending your dollar where it counts.
Do companies come to you and ask, hey, we're getting ready to do a redesign. You've optimized our site so far. Could you consult on that? Like, best practices. Hey, we're building this and would like to get your feedback on that. Do y'all do that at all, or?
Yeah, we'll occasionally do that. For sure. Usually what we'll do is actually approach it from a different perspective. So we will do conversion audits and lift conversion analysis on the page comps or the designs, and then give them feedback on it. But then take it the next step as well. And if they're committed to doing an overarching redesign, and in some cases it's needed. Mm-hmm. Then we'll help them to also set up an experiment properly, so that even if worst case scenario they just come out with a brand new website, mm-hmm. then we'll test the whole new site against the old site, and use that as the first experiment to then start the momentum on continually optimizing, so they don't ever have to do that again, right? Gotcha. And can avoid that in the future, because most website redesigns, mm-hmm. frankly, end over budget, delayed, and hurt conversion rates. Like in almost the majority of cases, they spend a lot of money on these things, and in most cases they don't work, because when you think about it, they're making thousands of changes on that one day when they flip the switch, and they have no idea which changes are improving the experience and the conversions, and which ones are hurting.
Yeah.
And so inevitably they'll make some small changes or some major changes that will hurt things and overwhelm any of the improvements they've made. So it's dangerous. But in the worst case scenario, you can test the new one and the old one and at least know how badly you're hurting your results.
Yeah. Worst case, just revert back to the
Right, exactly.
So anyway, you have any more questions for Chris?
No, looking through, see if we got any more user questions here on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I don't want to take any more of your time. I really appreciate you coming on the show. We enjoyed it, and
yes.
you really brought in some really great insight. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we
sign off?
No, this is great, and thanks for the invitation. Good questions, and hope that's useful for people. If anyone wants more information, they can always find us on Wider Funnel and on the blog at widerfunnel.com/blog, and they can sign up there. And we're always posting some the latest research and case studies and insights from what we're learning. The latest one is about how to write a hypothesis that's powerful and important,
nice.
Which was just released yesterday. So you can tune into that one.
Nice.
And we'll be doing more webinars as well coming up with the latest case studies.
And you can also be reached on Twitter at Wider Funnel.
Yeah, at Wider Funnel or at Chris Goward, and we're always releasing the latest content there as well.
Nice.
Awesome.
Do you guys have any case studies or anything on your blog?
We do. There are actually over 30 case studies public on the website that people can learn from. So widerfunnel.com/case studies. I think it's either a dash or not. I think both work, but widerfunnel.com/case studies, and they can get case studies in various industries on there as well.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Chris, thanks again for coming to calling into the show.
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
no
right.
worries. Thanks for the invitation.
All right.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Now, guys, those of you just tuning in, you're listening to SearchTalkLive.com. We're powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. That's RobertPalmerCompanies.com.
Here we go.
There we go. Visit the site. Check him out. He has multiple companies that Robert Palmer owns, and is our proud sponsor of Search Talk Live.
Absolutely.
Now, those of you who didn't get the news last week, this week, let's see, we got 3 weeks?
Starting in 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks,
Yes.
yeah. Search Talk Live will be on iHeartRadio.
Absolutely.
Which is going to expand our listenership quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we're pretty psyched about that.
Absolutely.
And I've gotten some great feedback from people.
Yeah.
Just
great stuff.
Yeah.
And, we
just
really
shocked.
appreciate everybody tuning in each week. And we say it all the time that we started this out as something that we, just did kind of as a hobby, and now it's turned into something big. A lot of people seem to be getting great information out of it. I know we enjoy sharing our knowledge. We enjoy learning more from our guests. So we really appreciate the interaction, the listenership, and everything you're doing, and ready to take it to the next level, Rob. Going to iHeartRadio. Right. And it's going to be awesome. We're going to have more guests on, some awesome stuff as we move forward throughout the year. And, we really want the listeners engaging more. If you want to call in, you can always call in with us, 855-722-0006. Call in, put us on the spot if you want. It's fine. We really like being put on the spot. If we don't have the answer, we'll find it. Or we'll get somebody on here to talk about it, as we always do.
Let's play Stump the Radio host.
Yeah, stump them. And connect with us on Twitter. We're always sharing great information and what's coming up on Search Talk Live.
Yeah.
Always
subscribe
doing
to our
that.
newsletter.
Subscribe to our newsletter. You can email us if you got questions, if you got comments, if you got feedback, whatever it may be. Robert at SearchTalkLive.com and Caleb at SearchTalkLive.com. Shoot us an email, and we'll always respond. Always checking the email. Even though we get a lot each day, it doesn't matter.
And, our listenership has expanded already. We're on iTunes. We're on Spreaker. I know you probably never heard of that, but Spreaker is a big one. Speaker
with an R. Spreaker.
Yeah. We're on SoundCloud. You can get us there. You can get us on Stitcher. And then iHeart's coming up. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, what do you want to talk about, Caleb? Let's just, we got about 10 minutes.
We got 10 minutes on the show.
That's around here.
Yeah.
It's a great time for callers. Hint, hint.
Yeah, call on in. What do you got going on this week, Rob? What's the latest with you?
I am building some sites.
Yes.
Building sites and doing all kinds of integrations to the sites and SEO and some UX work and Yeah. So, I mean, you name it.
Right. I'm actually doing a kind of a traffic experiment. I am managing a site right now that hasn't been getting much traffic, but over the month of March, I'm always wanting to experiment, always try new things.
Yep.
I think I was speaking to with you this last week. The month of March, I'm trying big on content marketing. By the way, if you want to learn more about content marketing, check out last week's show as Sujan Patel was with us with content marketing. Oh, awesome information. I learned a lot. But with going into that, trying all these things out as far as content marketing goes, with link building, just how can I generate traffic with social media marketing? How much traffic can I generate, and what are going to be those avenues? And I really want to, once this is all done with March, put that case study out there, whether it's good or bad, and I'm going to provide what worked, what didn't work, and kind of what I did on a daily basis to try to increase that traffic. So I'm really excited about it. I will say things are going pretty well so far. Traffic is increasing, and so looks good. I know March 8th, so it's early in the month, but hey, so I'd like to provide that information for listeners on searchtalklive.com once the month is over with.
Yeah, I want to share something we learned from SMX that we weren't there, but I read about it. My buddy Barry Schwartz was talking about this. It's pretty exciting. I mean, Google's all about this mobile thing, and one of the things that they're talking about doing is when you do a search. Let's say I want a new pair of shoes, or no, let's say that's a bad example. Let's say I need I don't know what to say. Let me I'm bad at analogies and examples, but let's say you want to buy a new shirt, and it pulls up, 3 different shirts on the product listings. Then you say, okay, I want the one from Best Buy. Purchase that one, and then it automatically goes right through the shopping cart and purchases it without having to go through all kinds of clicks. It's instant. I mean, it's like, those the listings that you see on the search will be, you literally say on your phone, I want to buy that TV from Best Buy. It goes right there and puts you right into the shopping cart. Yeah, amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Talk about a conversion rate.
Yep, you're getting the conversion right there.
That's kind of skipping the funnel, It's
there's no funnel. Well, I mean, you're meeting the direct need of the user. And I mean, how powerful is that when it's say, okay, I want, whether it's shirt, shoes, whatever it may be, I want this. And you click on it and it takes them directly to the cart. I mean, they don't have a thought process. They need it. They want it. They get it. Instead of you go through a funnel and you're like, well, let me double think this, or they might interact with something on your site that's going to take them away from it. Yeah. Now they're going straight to the cart, and they have that one step where here's my information.
And you have 2 sides to that, though, because to me, that's paid. That's paid payment.
Yeah.
Paid search, paid per click.
Right.
So you're really cutting out all that organic.
True.
I mean, you're skipping the organic.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're basically doing that already with the 4 ads at the top and the 3 at the bottom. I'm imagining, I'm seeing that the cost per click is higher to be in those 4 spots than it would to have, being up just sitting on the side there.
Yeah.
But you do get better conversion rates.
It's a little bit of a catch-22.
But, with the local listings, your 4 ads on the top, I mean, you're running out of space for organic stuff there,
Right.
So, I mean, I even asked John Mueller on the show the other day, or a couple weeks ago, when I was asking him, I said, are they thinking about doing maybe an infinite scroll search since they're trying to cap up the paid stuff? So, or maybe changing the search results to 20 or 15. And that's when he made the joke. And he says, well, if we did infinite scroll, everybody would be on the first page.
Right.
Perfect.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be something to tell your client if you're an agency. Hey, we got you on first page. There it is right there.
Number 157.
Right. Hey, but you're on the first page. No, absolutely.
No. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting to learn. I mean, it's cool for a user experience. Yeah. That's what they're going for. But it's not good for us people trying to rank naturally and organically. Yeah. So you got anything else you want to talk about?
No. I mean, I don't know. What do we have coming up for next week on the show? That's something we can share.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
looking at
usually
that right now.
Usually late at sharing that out, which we are going to get better at. I promise. We are, not to make an excuse, we do get pretty busy.
Yeah, we have Stephen Spencer. He's a 3-time author. He's the co-author with Rand Fishkin on The Art of SEO.
Yeah.
He's also published 2 other books on the topic of SEO. So it's going to be a big SEO show next week. Let's see, what do we got?
Very awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be a good one. I highly suggest if you're new to the show and haven't checked kind of our shows out and what we have going on, please do. You can go to searchtalklive.com, visit previous shows, and there is a lot of awesome information. If you're just getting started in the SEO industry, or you're in freelance, or you got an intro level job at an SEO agency, or you have your own site, so much information there from Robert and myself when we talk about SEO and digital marketing, to the awesome guests that we've had on, from Michael Stricker to Rand Fishkin to John Mueller to the gentleman at Raven Tools, from all over the place. We got a lot of great information, so you definitely need to check it out. It's a great place to start, and there's hours of content there for you.
Yeah, the show. If like Caleb said, if you're new to the industry, you can go to. I hate to say it, but go to our first 3 or 4 or 5 episodes. They're probably the worst shows we've ever done.
They're the worst because we're new to this.
Yeah.
We were new to this, and a little tentative on what we were doing and how we were saying it and presenting that content, because this isn't easy. I know Rob and I make it look easy. We get it. Now we do. No, I'm just kidding. We still have our problems and issues, and we try to make the best show possible. But at the beginning, it's a little rocky, so bear with us. Once you get on to the next few episodes, it gets a lot better. I promise you.
Yeah, but the information that we do give on the show is stellar. It runs you through the basics of SEO on page. We go through outreach, and that's Caleb's big thing, is link building.
I love it. Link earning, Rob.
Yes.
Link earning.
All right, sorry. But I want to thank everyone for listening to the show.
Absolutely.
I have gotten some really great emails that make me want to tear up and start crying.
Please
no,
don't do
I'm kidding. No, but they, really nice from the heart. Hey, I love your show.
Means a lot to us.
Yeah, because sometimes, it's a lot of work to put these shows together and coming up with topics and getting guests and all that stuff. And every once in a while, it's great to hear someone say, hey, thank you so much.
Good.
You're helping us. And that's the whole goal here. We don't. We're not looking for anything. We're just here to help people.
Yep.
And help you be successful online.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell you, with the guests that we've had in the last month, this year alone.
We've had Bruce Clay, John Mueller.
I've learned a ton of stuff, man. And I've been in it for 13 years, and I'm learning, man.
Yeah.
Sujan was awesome last week.
Yep.
With the content marketing, but anyway. I think we're going to end the show now. If you don't want, I don't want to say if, but don't forget to tune in next week, because we do have a wonderful guest. It is going to be SEO Geek Talk next week. You can catch us on iTunes. If you're listening to us on any of the other places like SoundCloud, you can catch us at searchtalklive.com. You can hit us up on Twitter at SearchTalkLive. And Caleb, you're at CJ_MCE. And I am at Robert OHAVER on Twitter. We're here every Tuesday, 3:30 to 4:30. So catch us next week. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good week.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.